Hi, everybody. Glad to see everybody's there. It's the end of the semester. I'm so thankful that faculty are still engaged with their students and that we're supporting them in their endeavors. And this is a very difficult time in a very difficult semester. So thanks for checking out the campus Zoom. Lots of things to talk about, lots of things are going on, and I know that there will be lots of questions about fall. So let's do a couple of things before we get there. I would like to remind everyone that we do have opportunities to support our students in ways other than teaching and learning. You know that there are, hey, how can I do this? I'm still doing this chat stuff and it's not working. We have opportunities to provide funding support for our students. And I'm trying to put these things up and I can't. I have 2 URLs to share with you and it's not happening. I don't know why. We have a food pantry on the campus. It's Pohu Kaina. And if you guys, if I could only put the URL, why doesn't it work? Tell me that. I don't know. I'm trying to, yes, finally. So everybody else has it too. That's all the times. Sorry. Look at that. You choose any one. There's 2. There's 2 URLs in amongst all of that crowd. One is the food pantry and the other is giving opportunity for the emergency student relief fund. So do help our students out by either one of those 2. It was Giving Tuesday, but now it's like Giving Wednesday. A little bit of an update on the CARES 1, which is funding that is made available to students who are eligible for Title IV. As of about 10 o'clock this morning, across the 7 campuses, 1,223 students had applied for that $200. And for our campus, by 10 o'clock this morning, 240 students had applied for the $200. So it's a good beginning because the message only went out yesterday morning. So you can encourage students to seek support from that. Okay, the on-ramp project is going on. An announcement will be going out to high school seniors who have already applied to the community colleges to let them know about these free courses that we offer. Schedule is solidified, and I know we're going to Nava'a, and we'll hear more about CARES from Noea, but just to let you know that that's happening. And I believe the Vice Chancellor will let you know a little bit more about professional development. But let me talk to you about fall 2020. So you received an announcement from the President who said that fall 2020 was going to include on-campus classes. If you saw the newspaper headline yesterday, it was, UH returns to campus. I hope you also read the fine print on that announcement, which was, yes, we will have some face-to-face interactions on the campus in fall 2020, and it will probably include some hybrid modalities, and we will need to comply with social distancing, with sanitation, with masks, possibly. So please understand that it's not going to be, as the President said, it is not going to be business as usual. And the campuses will need to be prepared for responding to potential surges in COVID infections in the fall. So as I said to you guys before, we would like to prioritize face-to-face classes for those disciplines that really do need to have face-to-face. There are kitchens, there are labs, there are those kinds of instructional settings that will need to incorporate face-to-face, but all of them, no matter what, we need to be compliant with social distancing and with sanitation. And I know that the department chairs and the deans are working now to figure out what is that going to look like. We have to be able to assure safety for our faculty in the classrooms, for our students, for our employees in their offices. So if we're given the green light, people can come back to campus, even for the offices, business office, HR office, department offices, counseling offices. How are we going to maintain social distance? How are we going to ensure sanitation? That is why I've asked folks to prioritize the face-to-face delivery option for those classes, those disciplines that must be face-to-face, and for others, as much as possible, to continue with remote delivery or online delivery as best as we can. And I know that Maria and the other vice chancellors are talking about what professional development support can be offered to faculty in learning how best to do the remote delivery or how best to do online delivery. And I think that's it for me. Steve already asked a question. F2F classes may be scheduled in buildings that they might not otherwise be scheduled. We are going to have to do social distancing, and we are trying to figure out what does that mean for a class of 35. How can we do this? And what is it going to mean for the facilities? And I know that Brian and others have been going around to the classrooms and trying to figure out what configuration of the classroom would allow for social distancing. And what does that mean if you have a class of 35? And how are you going to accommodate the students? Clearly, you cannot fit 35 students and maintain 36 square feet of space between the students in the classrooms right now. So what does that mean? Are we going to schedule differently? Are we going to have rotation of students in the classrooms? That's why the hybrid model is quite likely going to be the one that is most able to be accommodated in our classrooms. So half the students show up on one day, half the students show up on another day, and the rest of the class is offered online. And again, I know that the faculty, there are smart people out there, and that the department chairs are working with the deans trying to best determine how to offer the classes within those parameters, within those constraints. Other questions right now? Not all classes are 35. What about classes of 20? Yeah, exactly. Do you measure your classroom in a class of 20? Can you keep 20 people in your class with 36 square feet around the student? 6 feet in all directions. Is that possible?
LP?
Oh.
It's Brian. So I just since we're already on this topic, this was going to be part of my report, but I'll talk about it now. We are just wrapping up. In fact, I think we just got done this morning of going through all of the classrooms and the labs and taking 3 pieces of information from it. Number 1, square footage. Number 2, total square footage. And number 3, what type of desks there are. So is it a table? Is it individual desks? And I'm sorry, the 4th thing was actually taking pictures of those spaces, because the dimensions don't really mean much unless you're truly someone who can fit those pieces on paper. So the pictures are important. So all of that stuff is basically being compiled into one report. That's where we need to start. We need to also assume a number of different things, such as 6 foot between each person. I know there has been talk about, oh, maybe as we move ourselves as a country out of this, we can reduce that social distancing. I think that's a bad assumption for now, and so we need to move forward with current best practice. So how I'm envisioning this whole thing laying out is the pieces of the puzzle are our different classes. All of our different classes, all of our different disciplines. The puzzle itself, the physical puzzle itself, are the actual spaces we have. And then you need to factor in the different things, such as the social distancing, such as reduced enrollment, and so on and so forth. And then you fit the pieces to the puzzle. So stage 1 is done. We know what the puzzle looks like physically once we have these pictures and the measurements down. Part 2 is then going to be sitting down with the administrators as well as the department chairs to determine what we can do in each of these spaces. The biggest assumption, that the only assumption I can make, which I'm pretty sure of at this point, is even with a shrunken enrollment, we will not have enough space on our campus to have straight face-to-face for all of our classes. So we will have to incorporate hybrid. We will have to incorporate some sort of distance learning, staggered classes maybe, I don't know. But yeah, Steve, to answer your first question was, will classes that are normally held in these rooms be held there? The answer is yeah. It's going to be, we're going to have to use all spaces.
Dave Stevens has a question.
Yeah, can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, there's some construction going on outside. There might be a little bit of background noise. The IT guys came up with some intriguing solutions, and Richard Halverson especially offered one I thought could be a great solution for some of our face-to-face classes. That some of our distance learning DSSO and vets, they have to have, and international students have to have a face-to-face class, at least one, to maintain their residency requirements. Those people could have priority to a face-to-face session, and the rest of the people could log into a real-time Zoom remote session. So we're planning on tweaking one of our rooms to actually include a camera about 6 to 10 feet away from the instructor in the middle of the room that can encompass the instructor plus the entire board. And the instructor can use the board, interact with the class that's present, plus interact live via chat like you do, Luis, in these meetings. So everybody could participate in the class, yet we could keep social distancing and keep our class sizes for one class session. I think they're calling this synchronous online would be the closest match to a term. Is this something that we could do when we get Brian's square footage estimates of how many people we can put in a classroom?
I think at this point, Dave, and all the others who are suggesting other options, I think we're considering all options right now, whatever would work best for the students. And I understand about, some kinds of students, like VA students, they have constraints on how much online they can do. International students, same thing. So yeah, there are considerations, and there are some statements about, why don't we just reduce class sizes and just fit as many people in the class as can fit in the class? And then you run into all kinds of different problems about making sure your students can get through. And again, if we're down 30% in our enrollment and nobody needs to graduate, we can have really small classes because there won't be that many more people. But you don't want to bottleneck. You don't want to bottleneck students by offering just X number of classes that are small. We won't have enough spaces to accommodate the students that we do have if we create only strictly face-to-face Monday, Wednesday class with 12 people. We're not going to get our students through the process to graduate in that time period.
Do you know, make a decision about who's going to be able to decide? Is it going to be instructor, program, department chair, dean? Who's going to make the final call, and when will we get some clear direction on what our parameters are? Do you know?
Um, I'm expecting that decision to be made very much by the people who are the frontline people, if at all possible. The department, and it's just like the worst possible time of the semester to have these conversations. So I know that the deans are talking to their department chairs, and the department chairs, I hope, have some opportunity to canvass the students. I've seen some email traffic with some departments about, what are you guys thinking? How are we going to do this? I think that decision has to be made jointly, and it has to be made with due respect to the faculty members' capacity. There are ongoing conversations with the union about what does this mean for people and their workload. So, it's not going to be my decision as to what happens. I have to think of the institution. I have to think about the students and their progress, as you do in your programs. What is that going to mean? So we do have a lot of things to be considering. It's a lot of moving parts and a lot of unknowns still, because we don't know our enrollments and we don't know what the capacities will be. So I have not been informed that we need to have a firm date on how we're going to do the fall, but I also know that students aren't registering because they don't know. So the sooner we can get some clarity for students, the sooner they will feel comfortable with making decisions. And we know some students aren't going to want to have online classes. And what is that going to mean for us at all? So I do appreciate the uncertainty right now. What we do know from at least a month ago was that the decision about whether or not we were going to allow for some face-to-face classes in summer 2 is going to be made sometime before May 15th. And that's still out there, and I don't know if we're going to have that. We have scheduled summer 1 online, and we have scheduled summer 2 online, and I think I would prefer that we stick that way right now. So for some, at least, certainty about that. And Hal and all of us would like to have, we need to have a firm date to prepare for fall. And I'm going to hope that the academic affairs folks can have that conversation with the departments and to say, how soon can we make that call, given all of the parameters that we're talking about. Any other questions before I turn over to the other administrators for updates?
Louise,
Yeah.
type something in the chat window that's actually relevant about VA. And students can have the COVID-19 code all the way through 12/21 of 20. So that covers us for fall.
Yes.
Kind of information that we as teachers are getting very little of, except in your meetings. So thank you very much for that.
If only I had all the information, I could just tell you exactly, but I can't even do that. Okay, one last thing, and this is about money. You've heard about CARES 1, which is the money direct support to students. CARES 2 and CARES 3 also has some funding direct to students, but also allows for institutional funding. And I know that there have been conversations with faculty and the deans and the department chairs about, CARES money could pay for this, or CARES money could pay for that, and maybe it could, but right now, we are still being told that the president would like us to have a system-wide approach to how to expend those funds. So we don't right now have the authority to spend it however we want. So we're still waiting on direction from the president. He has 5 working groups that are covering various and sundry different aspects of institutional support, including professional development, support to academics and student support, facilities, all kinds of different working groups. And so we're hoping to get that direction. So we're also hoping that there is some portion of that money that the campuses can spend for their own specific needs. So we're hopeful that that's going to be part of it too. Let me turn to the other folks in your administrative team. And Maria, what would you like to share with the folks? But you have to unmute yourself, Maria.
I know. I was trying to find out where that was. Okay. I'm working with the deans, and the deans are working with all you folks already. I mean, with the chairs about the fall schedule. So we just started this as soon as the announcement from the president came out. So everything is just at the initial stage. We're going to be meeting every week in order to finalize things as we get more information from all of you. So if you start working with your faculty, then we'll get better information as the chair passes that on to the deans. Another thing that I would like to say is because of the credit, no credit grade option for spring 2020, I have asked Susan Pope to change the prereqs in some of in classes, instead of a C or higher, to a C credit or higher, so that the students will be able to make that choice on May 20 to the 22nd. Otherwise, they will not see that choice. And also, if that is in the prereq, then the student who chooses a credit will be able to register for the next class, for that class. So that is something that Susan will be working on. Also, I would please join the Top to Go program that our ID folks are making available. We need the faculty to be more knowledgeable about online teaching. Yes, face-to-face is going to be something that we're looking at for fall, but if something happens again, then we're going to be thrown to the same situation that we had to experience this spring 2020. So if you are more knowledgeable about how to do remote learning and doing some things, then it would be a better experience for your students if we come to that point. So anyway, that's all I have to say. Thank you so much.
Questions for Maria?
I'm done.
Will Top to Go be available throughout the summer? Nikki's asking. Anybody on the call can answer? Jamie?
Jamie's here. Yeah.
Yeah, well, at least, at the very least, be doing it during summer 1. So get in there.
Okay, thanks. Okay, Noel?
Yeah, so just to re-highlight what Louise was sharing about the CARES money for students, you guys should have gotten an email. The faculty should have gotten an email about what the students are getting, and then students also got an email. These funds, students are identified by the system, and they get an email, which then will bring them to a link that they can answer. I think it's 3 or 4 questions. It's pretty fast, and then they get awarded $200. For everybody else whose students are asking about these funds and did not get an email, most likely the system did not miss them, but if you want to direct them somewhere, I put that website in the chat box, and it's basically the UHCC's CARES Money Act. And basically the student can go there, they can read the eligibility, and if they just log in, it'll tell you yes or no if you qualify or not. So for you faculty, if you want to just log in, you'll get a rejection notice saying you're not eligible and encouraging you to apply for the urgent student relief funds. We are still having discussions on what about students who are not identified within this system scoop. We haven't gotten an answer to that yet because I think most of them should be pretty accurate, but I should have an answer later on because there might be a manual process. But for the main part, we're just assuming that the data was scooped correctly and all the students have been identified. But again, if you want to direct your students to a website, that would be that website. So if they can't get CARES, there is still money available for the urgent student relief funds. So it'll be a 2 for 1. Also, if you have students who have questions about this, let me put in an email, but it's ccaid@hawaii.edu. Have them email this email about questions about the CARES Act, because that will go to the system to answer. Because if it goes through any of our campus representatives, it'll just kind of go through me, then to the system, and then the answer goes to me. So it's a longer process, but they can kind of get most of the answers asked over there. And that's all updates I have for now. Oh, sorry, the other update, if you have students who have trouble registering for courses, or because they are not meeting prerequisites, please refer them to a counselor, and then most likely the counselor will be able to put in the overrides. If department chairs, if you guys already don't have access such as this, let me know and we can kind of talk about how we can best support the students during this time, and I can provide temporary access. And that's all I got.
Okay, thanks. And there's questions going on up there. There's a question about when will we know which classes will run for summer high school onboarding. I'll make sure Naval answers that when it's his turn. And let's see. Okay, Brian?
Hi again, everyone. A couple of announcements. First of all, maybe a couple of weeks ago, I announced how we were trying to move up some of our construction projects because we have a basically empty campus right now. So I wanted to let everybody know we were able to twist a few arms and get some money released out of DAGS and BNF. And so we will be starting our Lot C resurfacing project this Monday, 5/11. Should not be a problem because that lot is essentially empty as of right now. That project is going to take us all the way up until about July. So by the time the bulk of everyone starts returning to campus, that space will be well done and resurfaced. Budget-wise, I just want to give you guys a status of where we are at right now. Friday, May 1st was the deadline for the all administrators to get budgets to Louise. So department chairs, thank you very much. As always, it's important to see what your plans are for the future. The next step is that we're going to be sitting down with deans and department chairs. This is the little Q&A. Not an inquisition whatsoever. It's just a Q&A. But you know, just as a reminder for everyone on the budget, we don't know there's so many unknowns at this point in time. One of the things that is going to be happening is the legislature will be reconvening for about 5 to 6 days starting Monday. The expectation is that they're going to be revising our supplemental budget. And I think their goal right now is to try to get that done before the next Council on Revenues projection, which, as you guys can imagine, is probably going to be downward. So if the legislature waits for that to come out, then it's even more work that they have to do to reduce the state budget. But there are a lot of unknowns, and you know, every step we make here is going to be important and is critical to inevitably getting our FY21 or academic year 2021 budget done. And I'll just keep you guys posted as we move along. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Brian. Deans, Nava'a, and you can answer that question about the timeline on decisions for the classes for on-ramping.
Yeah, so I think, was that Dave? Yeah, Department Chair Laurie is the one putting in the classes to be offered. We haven't yet gotten approval of all the courses from the system. We had a meeting yesterday morning, and right now there's about 6,200 high school students that have already applied to the community colleges. So we're trying to get them on board onto the project. Yeah, it changed from 4 days ago to just yesterday. So some of the sessions times are changing a little. We have another meeting tomorrow to see if we can kind of really firm everything up and try to start getting students enrolled by sometime next week. But yeah, I think like the entire semester, when you think you got it, in a few days, things change a little. And I just wanted to apologize to Jerry Lorenzo, she's out, Jerry Enokawa, because a lot of the times when we're doing this, we forget about all the behind work that KISC has to do. So thanks, KISC, for all the work you guys are doing to help us. That's it.
Questions for Nava'a? Okay. If you guys have been looking at the chat, Don has been providing some interesting options for how to manage all kinds of different remote deliveries. So off to the next theme. John.
Yeah, aloha, everybody. I just wanted to say at the end of this very different semester, again, every day, how impressed I am with how you're all working together. And I wanted to just give a special shout out to all the department chairs who are really crunched in the middle of this shift that we were all doing, and just a remarkable job that they're doing. So give them some applause. They're earning it very much. Thanks.
Okay. I always told people department chair was the most difficult job I ever did. Lisa.
Good afternoon. I would like to echo John's thoughts that we were discussing in our meeting this morning, how it feels as though our workload is doubled, like we have two sides of the house that we're taking care of at the same time. So again, hats off to all of you that are doing this. It's a tremendous amount of work right now. With regard to health and on-ramp, I think we have all of those anticipated courses scheduled at this point. I'll send out kind of a little diagram indicating who will be teaching which courses, or who I've kind of got penciled in, so you can give me feedback. I'm also going to establish kind of a lead for each course, and just simply that you would be a resource for others teaching the course, because we're obviously going to have some teaching those courses who have not taught them before. So I just want to make sure that we have someone with experience who can provide any insight and help guide anybody else teaching those courses. So I'll be being in touch with all of you real soon on that. And I'll applaud to everyone who volunteered to help us out in that, because it was obviously not something you were planning on, but everybody stepped up, and it's a great thing. I think our students will appreciate that. With regard to some of the questions we had about moving face-to-face within health, we do have some that it won't be as big of a challenge to come face-to-face with regard to our labs and use social distancing and things like that. But then there are others, dental assisting, where you actually have their hands in their mouth, as Sheila was talking about earlier today, and PTA and OTA, where they're actually hands-on, and even in RAD, where they're using each other to practice. So we're going to kind of indicate how we will address that, and high level, I think right now we're leaning more towards adopting whatever industry practices are, and then proposing that to system to ensure that that is meets the requirements for moving those courses face-to-face, to really try to help complete these students as quickly as we can. So more to come on that. And again, thanks everyone for all the help that you've given.
Thanks, Lisa. Just to underline the whole compliance stuff, we have to report to the president not only what are we going to do to maintain social distance, but how are we going to ensure that social distance is maintained? What are we going to do in our classrooms to make certain that that's how it's going to be played out? Not just in the classroom, but in your mind, you know what happens when the class is over. Everybody runs out at the same time. How are we going to make sure classes end and proceed six feet apart? Anyway, I just had this vision of people with hula hoops, that very big hula hoops with suspenders to make sure that everything is, anyway, it's just going to be.
Louise?
Yes, Dave?
As soon as you said the same thing, I was thinking hamster balls. What are they called? Those, when people run around in those plastic bubbles?
Yes, exactly.
Hamster balls?
Something like that.
All right, just thought we needed a little visual there.
Yep. And that would be a lovely sight to see everybody in bubbles working. We did that for the obstacle course one time for Aloha United Way fundraising. I think, who was it that was really good at it? I can't remember. Was it Keala? Was it? Oh no, it was Drake. Drake was super good. Knocker balls. Thank you, Dana. Zorbs, hoop skirts. Yes, yardsticks across the shoulders on each end, all of those things. I don't know how we're going to do it. Carol.
Aloha, everyone. I hope you have been taking care of yourself and you're staying well. For continuing education, I just want to say that, you know, of course, we need to follow the same criteria that has been discussed with regard to credit classes for social distancing and so on for our offices and the classrooms that we utilize and all that has been mentioned. We are rolling out some of our online continuing ed classes. One of special note is the statewide customer service with Aloha, and then we are also delivering communication classes in conjunction with the Chamber of Commerce. And I did want to mention to those who are involved with continuing ed that we just heard that the OGC is taking a look at continuing ed if they are currently utilizing or thinking about utilizing third-party providers for classes. So I know that our colleagues are doing that or thinking about doing that because, you know, it's kind of a fast solution to putting classes online. So we'll want to take special note of that may not be such a great idea. I did want to give a shout out to John Ridgway, who has been working on our online newsletter. It has been rated as one of the top 10, I think, in the country. He has special expertise in emergency response communications, and I think that's becoming apparent in some of the messaging that's been going out and the 5 to 6 week plan that was put together for all of the UHCC continuing ed communicators. Lastly, I would like to mention, which should be noted by all, that we are going to have a new part-time first to work coordinator who is going to be Joanne Nakano. And this is possible because this is through funding that goes through RCUH. Michi, of course, left for a full-time job. But first to work is really important because, you know, it provides full tuition support to people, you know, who qualify, and they can come to our classes, and they're, you know, some of the group that, exactly the group that we're trying to attract to this campus. Other than that, you know, I just hope that everyone stays well, and thank you for all your hard work.
Thanks, Carol. I don't see any new questions, only comments about how we can keep social distance with 6-foot bamboo poles in the classrooms. Yep. And Joanne.
I just wanted to thank everybody for contributing to those Padlets. We keep sort of reviewing them, and there's just some really wonderful messages. And the students received the email about the Padlets yesterday, so I'm hoping they will be thrilled to see your messages and that they will also jump in with family and friends. So I just want to thank the campus for participating like that.
And Jamie's just put in the URL, so folks who may not have had time to go in and put their comments and their well wishes for the graduates, feel free to do that. I did visit all the pages and read some of those things. You guys are so super creative. It's terrific. It was fun. Okay, I think that's all of the announcements, updates. Anyone from the 146 people want to say anything? I'm shocked.
Sorry, thanks. I know. Thanks for waiting.
Okay.
20-second rule. Is that what you're?
10 seconds. Yep.
If we could go back to top to go for just a second, I was trying to follow the chat. So I guess this is a question for Jamie. I know, what are we on? We've opened up now to the third module, I think. And I was trying to, I think there was a comment, whatever, a meeting or so ago, that each module is open for a month. So if I'm understanding it correctly, let's say I missed module 1 or I've missed module 2, because it is a busy time. Is it going to be another cycle, or are you just going to leave them open?
Yeah, so so the whole
question very well.
shebang happens in a month. So it's 4 modules, and they open every Monday morning at 7 a.m. So we are in the middle of week 3 right now, module 3. So they'll be open for forever. If people want to just kind of pop in and kind of take a look at the forums and the resources and that sort of thing, they definitely can. We're going to create I'll make a copy of the site and do some improvements based on what happened this go round. And that will open up for summer 1. And so then people are welcome to, even if you were in this iteration, to join us in the summer 1 site, because all of the community stuff kind of happens at that pace. So the forums, and the interaction and people sharing out their resources and ideas kind of happen as we go module to module. So people are welcome to come in, and if you're someone who's done Top before, or you just only have time for certain things, you can use the resources or ask questions in the forums. You don't have to complete the entire thing, but there is a certificate of completion available for those who are interested in doing the requirements each week and then earning that for their dossiers. And you kind of get the most out of that, but I can't stress enough that everybody's welcome to use it however it makes the most sense for them. But the community and the sharing is really great. We have experienced DE faculty in there who are sharing their resources and their syllabi and really great ideas. So just hop in and join us.
Thank you. And since I got my little thing, my face on the screen here, going back, sorry, this goes back a little bit on the chat room. And I think it was a conversation we were having about, again, international students and VA students online. And, again, I think we've been working to try to define online versus remote. And I just, again, I think my question is, are we clear with that? Because, I think there was a comment, okay, let's say half my students are remote and half my students are sitting in a classroom. They are getting the same experience, and there really is not, I wouldn't consider it online at all. And again, I think that clarification of, does that work? Because, part of me is thinking, well, if I can't socially distance anybody, then yeah, then the whole class goes remote. And again, I would not consider that online. It's synchronous. And again, you got to show up at 10 o'clock and hang around till noon. And, so anyway, I just don't know if that has all become clear.
I'm trying to find, there was something in the chat that said something about international students and hybrid counts as something, and I can't find it.
I think it was Lavishay.
I can't
So
remember.
if you can find.
It was Stephen Harris.
Okay, Steve.
Oh, Stephen.
And that they had to do so many hours in the classroom.
But are we saying that doing it remotely is not in the classroom?
Hybrid counts as face-to-face. That's what, thank you, Steve. Yeah, hybrid counts as face-to-face.
What about remote?
If you're asynchronous, I would think that counts as distance, right?
But I'm talking about synchronous remote. They would actually be, it's in the courses at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if the people who make these rules ever thought about that. Steve, do you know anything about that? What if somebody was doing it via Zoom scheduled?
No, if it's regardless if it's synchronous or asynchronous, I mean, Sean Jacobone can speak to this more specifically to, the iterations or interpretations of, what the government is saying about, the regulations. But generally speaking, whether it's synchronous or asynchronous, it's considered online unless you have hybrid. If it's all online, it's all online, period. And international students, with some exceptions, need 9 credits minimum face-to-face per semester, but that could include hybrid.
Thank you.
Thanks.
There was a question about taking the temperature of students. before they walk in. And Lavashay, you want to do a food pantry update? Let me just think about this temperature checks. I don't know what that is. Right now, I'm not considering having that be part of our protocol. So I wouldn't want us to be thinking that way right now. I think it's kind of, even though you're not invading anybody's body cavities, it is an invasion of privacy because people could be feverish for other reasons. So I would not want to do that right now unless I get clearance from the people who give us clearance on these kinds of things. Lavashay, you want to talk about the food pantry?
Yep. Okay, so what you see behind me are stock right now, and you can't see all of it, but this stock was purchased at the Hawaii Food Bank on Monday for $235. We picked up 1,500 pounds of food. So I just wanted to give you an example of how much food we can get if you want to make a donation through the UH Foundation to the Hawaii Food Bank. To our food pantry. Now, if you make a donation directly to, and I'm gonna put up the flyer in the chat, if you make a donation to us directly, that benefits our food pantry and ability to purchase food at the food bank at 18 cents a pound. If you make a donation to the Hawaii Food Bank, it's the same thing. It still allows us this opportunity. So you can decide how you want to do that. But I just wanted to give you an idea of how much food we can get at such a reduced cost through this program that we've set up. And that was only possible with our partnership with Waikiki Community Center, who is our sponsor, which allows us to actually go to the food bank, as well as UH Foundation, which set up the accounts and helps us process the paperwork. So I don't have to pay for the food out of my pocket and get reimbursed. So please help us out. We did have, and we've been increasing since someone asked a question about usage. We've been increasing usage of the pantry since we opened in January. So right now in April, our numbers were 151 unduplicated students use the food pantry. And our goal is to get that up to at least the 10% of our population that we think is food insecure, which is about 700 students. And we also have faculty coming, staff coming as well that are in need of food. So it's not just students, it's also open to staff and faculty as well. Questions? Okay, thank you, Luis.
You're welcome. Let's see in the chat. There was a question before from Lynn who wanted to know whether the scholarship committees have been able to meet and award all the scholarships. So you guys who are responsible for that work, I hope it's happening so that the students can get notification of getting a scholarship now so that they know they got money for the fall semester. Hal's asking how many face-to-face meetings qualify a course for hybrid. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know that there's a cutoff number. Anybody know that? I don't think so. Lee's talking about relaxation of federal rules and regs expire in June. Let's see. We should be complying with FERPA anytime. Let's see. ADA compliance. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about how much we are compliant right now, even in the classes that are usually offered online. Hal's asking, one meeting qualifies as hybrid? I mean, our approach has always been once a week for in-class and once the other class not. So I would imagine that that's what we will continue to do for hybrid. Oh, thank you, Jamie. It's all determined somewhere. Joe's considering drive-through hybrids. Well, you know, some of the high schools are having drive-through commencements. So again, if you have really good ideas about how you want to do stuff, do connect with your department chairs to let them know you're willing to do a drive-through class in the parking lot. Never mind the...
Louise?
Yes, Maria?
Sean has a comment about international students.
Who does?
Sean.
Sean.
They can take remote.
Yes, separate protocols being required by CVIS for courses that are not offered on campus, separate approvals. We have to do that on an institutional level. And we had to do that this semester, and we had to continue it beyond the first governor's protocols. So that's something we would have to do. And we still are trying to look at total online offerings to international students so that they wouldn't have to come here at all. We haven't closed the loop on that. I have a meeting in 9 minutes with legal counsel and Don Straney to talk about international students doing completely online programs. Let's see, Lot A is optimal, Susan says. If we're going to do parking lot classes.
Just responding to Susan Inoy's comment actually about putting a repeater in the parking lot. I know that Carl had brought that up last time as being the parking lots were too difficult to cover, and certainly B and C are odd shaped, but Lot A is a rectangle. And you've got the Mamani building on one side, the Copico buildings on the other side, in which you could install the repeater. So just to put in a little vote for Lot A.
Thank you, Susan. Okay. I'm trying to track, make sure that if somehow I missed your question and it's really, really important, can you re-put it right now, repost, because we're about to shut down today.
Louise?
Yes, Laurie.
Hi everyone. Anyway, thank you for clarifying so many points. If we know that the student population of a course is not international and just VA and students that aren't impacted, can we go ahead and make the changes and then put the same clause stating that course was changed because of COVID-19? We're just trying to be proactive on some of the classes where we know we can, at this point, convert it to a synchronous online as opposed to a face-to-face.
I would think that's a good approach.
Okay, great.
You want to check with your dean, and if we get any other guidance from anybody, you know, I share it as soon as I can. So I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, I think I just read Terry's message because Maria's been great. You know, we've been trying to maneuver this whole process, and we just wanted to make sure we weren't prematurely making changes to the course offering delivery stuff. So if we know we can put that COVID-19 change, we can at least make the changes for the courses that are impacted. So appreciate that clarification.
Lori?
Yes.
It's Candy. So we're working on something in Senate too to give some sort of clear guidelines to, you know, what to do with the courses that you're making changes with, and we're really right in the process of that. So we'll have something written for you as well.
Okay, so is the Faculty Senate's position to kind of hold off so that we're consistent?
Well, I honestly, I'm about ready to go into the first meeting about it. So,
okay.
I'll keep you posted this week. How's that?
Wonderful. Awesome. Thanks for all that you do.
Okay, last chance. Anything?
super props to the host program for all its personalized videos on the Padlet. And if you haven't watched Dave Evans, it's a riot.
Yeah. And Grant Itomitsu had some really nice props when he did his. So that's another one you want to look at. Gotta have your Kleenex ready though, yeah, Grant?
Louise.
Yes, Nava'a.
With what Laurie was talking about, just trying to keep in mind KISK again. I think once you're gonna make that kind of change, Jerry's gonna have to move everybody out, disenroll, and then re-enroll. So we're trying to work with Jerry to figure out the best way so she's only doing one motion and not taking people out and then having to put them back in. But as soon as we figure that out, we'll let folks know.
Diba?
Yo.
We did this for spring 2020. Putting attribute C19. We did not have to do that, right? Jerry did not have to.
No, but I don't think you changed the schedule type or anything like that, did you?
No.
No, we replaced it, just the attribute.
Yeah, so I think in this case, you're going to have to make it more explicit to the students because the students knew what was going on because they were in the class. But if you have something that's now scheduled Tuesday, Thursday, 9:15, and you're going to change it to online, you can't tell them about it and just put a COVID-19. You'd have to change it all the way around. So Nava'a, when you guys figure out what the process is and how best to help Jerry folks, make sure you share the step-by-step so that the department chairs who are making those changes can do it in the most efficient and helpful way.
Okay, will do.
Nava'a, just one.
Oh, go ahead, Susan.
Oh, sorry. If the class is going to be done synchronously through Zoom at the same class times that is currently scheduled for like COPICO 102, is it really a change in type if you then move to synchronous Zoom that would still be meeting at the same time just on Zoom, so that Jerry wouldn't have to go in and redo the codes on those courses? I'm just not really clear how.
I'm trying to look to see if Jerry's
Yes, he's in. Jerry is online.
Oh, she's already thinking about grades. You know, I think those little kind of changes I don't think she needs to, but if you're gonna maybe change it to a hybrid course from online, I think maybe that's where the disenroll and re-enroll happens. I'm waiting for Jerry to respond.
Sorry, it depends on how the class is already in Banner. Sometimes the department secretary has to go in and change things, and Jerry has to go in and disenroll, re-enroll. And then if it's scheduled a different way, then that doesn't have to happen. So it has nothing to do with the C19 code.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. Okay.
Louise?
Yes, Dave.
I know no one has a crystal ball, but you know, when we're looking ahead to fall and we're making, you know, sort of these assumptions right here, right now, is there any part of the discussion where, you know, as a system, we say if things look a little different in June, or, you know, things are, you know, improving, you know, statewide, that, you know, we sort of change this approach? Is that part of any discussion yet?
It's part of people's uncertainty, and you know also that we have a governor, we have a mayor on Oahu who wants to be the governor. They're not always on the same page about what restrictions they're going to have on this island. And then the president has to make decisions about the university. So there's a lot of layers of decision making about what's going to happen anytime at all. So there are, you know, well, if we're like this, then maybe we can do that. And that's about as much, you know, hypothetical planning as people are doing. And that's the problem for us, because we just can't make the picture for the students. Now, you guys, I'm really sorry, but I have to leave the meeting. But I think that you guys can keep talking if I leave. So I'm going to say goodbye because I have to meet with Don Straney and the attorneys right now. So again, thank you for all that you do to keep your students engaged and your colleagues safe and you and your families safe. So talk amongst yourselves. Bye guys, see you Friday.
Lori, it's Candy again. I just wanted to say to you that Faculty Senate will just have something to do with the protocol for just assigning DE. It won't have anything to how it goes in Banner or any of that. So just like we always have, it's just a lot of classes went online that were not online, and we didn't follow the regular curriculum protocol for that. So we're having to come up with a protocol for that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thanks, Candy. So basically, you're coming up with a protocol to be able to denote that a course can be taught online.
Yeah, so it's like, you know, it's like a retroactive at this point, you know, for that. But that would have nothing to do with how you're putting it in Banner itself or what have you. So I just want you to know that's not what we do. But you, as a department, right, you assign what can be DE, you guys vote on it as a department or what have you. So we just have to make sure that we have the documentation and that sort of thing for curriculum. So that's what we're doing.
Great. Appreciate the reclarification, Candy. Thank you again.
Sure.